Look at this toucan soaring through the Amazonian canopy. We are taught from a very young age that courage looks exactly like this: loud, proud, and completely devoid of fear. This is Rico. He represents a specific kind of mobility, one that relies on vocalization and physical dominance to navigate the world. To Rico, confidence is the ability to loudly occupy space. On the jungle floor, Pip, the baby pangolin, exists in total contrast. He is covered in thousands of intricate scales, but his primary instinct is defensive. At the first sign of a threat, he relies on a single reflex, curling into a tight armored ball. Because Pip prioritizes defensive hesitation over bold action, he perceives himself as weak. He lives in a culture that defines survival by the ability to charge forward, making his instinct to hide feel like a failure. Rico eventually lands and commands the terrified Pip to unroll. He insists that to be a hero, Pip needs to abandon his shell and face the day with a bold, fearless posture. Pip starts to view his own anatomy as a burden. He looks at his heavy scales and wishes they would simply become wings, believing that mobility is the only path to true strength. This is an example of utility blindness. Pip is dismissing his physiological advantages because they don't match the societal model of strength. On this chart, we see how defensive traits are often categorized as weaknesses, while the world rewards those favoring offensive mobility. Forcing yourself into a model of strength that doesn't fit your biology doesn't make you brave. It just removes your natural protections and leaves you exposed. Pip tries to play the part. He unrolls and follows Rico down a sunlit path, struggling to walk on his little claws. He is fighting his own nature with every step, exhausting himself to appear confident. This performative bravery is fragile. It works as long as the environment remains predictable and the stakes are low. But the jungle is unpredictable. A sudden, violent windstorm rips through the canopy, and a massive dead branch snaps off an ancient tree above them. A sudden crisis does not care about the appearance of confidence. It strictly tests the physics of survival. Faced with immediate danger, Rico freezes. His loud, expansive confidence provides no defense against falling timber, and he cannot fly away in time. Pip, however, stops trying to be a bird. He stops thinking about how to look brave and gives in completely to his defensive instinct. In this slow-motion shot, the pangolin leaps over his friend. Mid-air, his body snaps into a perfectly round, tightly interlocked sphere of armor. The branch strikes the pangolin head-on and shatters into harmless splinters. Pip's scales, the very things he tried to hide, take the full force of the blow. Looking at the physics of this sphere, we can see why it works. When that blunt force strike hits the top, the energy doesn't concentrate on one spot. Instead, the force vectors curve outward along the circular perimeter. Zooming in on the rim, these interlocking scales function like tiny shock absorbers. They dissipate the kinetic energy across the entire surface of the ball, turning a passive hiding mechanism into an active, protective shield. They survived because Pip used a highly specialized physiological advantage, one he only possessed because he was built differently than the bird. In the aftermath, Rico stands trembling. He looks at the shattered wood and then at the tiny pangolin slowly unrolling. Rico realizes that he was wrong to demand Pip change. He sees now that the pangolin's quiet, careful nature isn't a lack of courage, it's a different kind of it. Standing in the golden hour light, Pip finally understands the value of his own armor. He stops wishing for wings because he realizes his scales were exactly what the situation required. True courage begins the moment you stop apologizing for the traits that make you different. The two walk side by side into the bioluminescent evening, one built for the sky and the other for the ground. Bravery isn't a volume setting. It isn't about being the loudest or the most mobile presence in the room. It is the choice to use your specific, inherent traits, even the ones you've been told are defensive or timid, to protect the people around you. The very sensitivity or quirk you try to hide might be the exact tool you'll need to solve a problem that only you are built for.